One more thing to get to off the top, and I hate myself a little bit more every time we have to talk about this stupid topic, but it's come up again, so we're going to talk about it again, and hopefully this will be the end of it.
Oh, it won't be.
Oh, Snyder Cut, everybody. Woo! I know everybody was excited for us to talk about the Snyder Cut again. F my life. Snyder Cut. Snyder Cut. Okay. So just a little bit of background on where we've been up until now. There have been a lot of people. First of all, everybody understands there is something that we call the Snyder Cut that exists. Everybody knows that. Like, Zack Snyder has a assembled cut of his movie the way he would have done it from all the stuff that he shot that is assembled together into what you can call the Snyder Cut that some people like Jason Momoa and others have watched.
By the way, he's said multiple cuts.
Oh, yes. He said, I have many cuts of this film. That's what Zack Snyder said. We all understand this. Everybody agrees. Nobody denies that there are apples in the bag, right? We've talked about the apples in the bag and the watermelon in the bag. We all have understood for ages there's apples in the bag. There, however, have been many, many, many people who, despite all evidence and all logic, insist that there is a 100% fully sound engineered, music mixed, color corrected, visual effects completed, score overlaid, ADR, Foley completed, with all the Foley art at 100% ready to be released film in theaters today if they would just release it. And that's the watermelon. So some kind of an assembled cut, that's the apples in the bag. We all agree there are apples in the bag. But the watermelon, there ain't no watermelon in the bag. But there are so many people that insist that yes, there is, and no, there's not. And we've heard repeatedly, even Zack Snyder himself from the stage of a convention once said, it would be up to Warner Brothers to finish. Well, two things have happened in the last couple of days. Now, on top of all that, and with Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck and all that kind of stuff coming out and saying, release the Snyder Cut, there has been some speculation, Rob, even on this show, that, I don't know, maybe Warner Brothers at some points uses HBO Max. And they'll take whatever it is that they do have, that Snyder does have complete, maybe they put it out on HBO Max, and there's been a lot of talk and discussion about that, perhaps. Well, two things have happened in the last 24 hours or so that seem to put that to bed. Not that facts and evidence ever put anything to bed, but here we are again. Number one, the composer of Justice League, Danny Elfman, has come out and said he never finished. Danny Elfman has come out and said he's never finished. Now, you can go and read his specific comments yourself, but basically he said he never finished. So the composer of the film himself came out and said wasn't finished. But now Variety has spoken to people at Warner Brothers. All right? And this was a subtext of another article, but Variety has spoken to people at Warner Brothers about, the Snyder Cut. Could it be released on HBO Max? All this kind of stuff. And this is what they're saying their Warner Brothers connections are telling them. This is from Variety. The launch of HBO Max has inspired some hopes that Warner Brothers might allow Zack Snyder to release a director's cut of the Justice League, leading to a social media campaign dubbed Release the Snyder Cut. Logistically, however, there is little appetite at the studio for spending the millions of dollars that it would require to finish visual effects and editing work on the Snyder version, particularly as the Justice League was a commercial disaster. I don't know that I would call it a disaster. I think it completely underperformed, but I don't know. It made over $600 million. I don't know that I would call it a disaster. There are currently, this is the key part, there are currently no plans to release a Snyder version either in theaters or on HBO Max. So, what this seems to confirm for the 43rd time is that no such Snyder Cut that is actually ready to be released version exists. We all acknowledge there are apples in the bag. We know that. That's a fact. But no such version that is just, let's just release it. That version does not exist. So they have once again confirmed that. Danny Elfman has pretty much confirmed that. The interesting thing here, though, Rob, that is a little bit of a spin, because we've talked on this show before that like maybe they could take whatever it is that's done, whatever apples are in the bag, and just put it out on HBO Max. That could be an interesting kind of, bell. Ding, ding, ding. Listen, look, everybody, come over here and check out HBO Max. That could be an interesting little bell, maybe. We thought about that could be a possibility that they could do. But they're saying there's not even any plans to do that. So, Rob, let me ask you this. Considering that there are apples in the bag, considering that, Zack Snyder does have this cut of his film, is there an argument to be made here that, well, without putting anything more into it, and treat it as a behind-the-scenes sneak peek, is there an argument to be made that maybe there's some benefit here to just take it as it is and put it as maybe even a feature on HBO Max? Or do you think it's the right thing for them to just say, nope, we're not even going to put it on HBO Max? How do you approach that?
Well, one thing, admittedly, my career has mostly been in low-budget movies, but I know for a fact, I've worked on so many films where you tell people that, listen, what you're about to see is an unfinished version of the movie. And you show it, you tell them that it's not color corrected, there's certain visual effects, there's certain sound effects, and you'll show the movie to people, to a learned audience of people that work in the industry. And if there's a scene where a phone, like someone's cell phone, they answer their cell phone, but there's no ring because you haven't put in the cell phone ring yet. The one thing people will say when the lights come up, they're going to be like, hey, there's that scene where the character answers the phone. There's no ring there. You're going to put the ring in the phone eventually, aren't you? And that'll be the only thing in the movie that it wasn't quite. That's the first thing people notice. You release a movie that's full of green screen shots, that's full of wires that the characters are floating on. People are going to look at this and go, why'd you do this? Why couldn't you finish it? There is a fundamental lack of understanding of the process of filmmaking, especially around the idea of this Snyder Cut. People believe, I heard that it was done. So-and-so saw it. No, they didn't. And people are, I got attacked on Twitter talking about this. I did it on my own show. And people have a fundamental lack of understanding about the process of movie making, especially when it comes to this. And especially because you and I love Man of Steel. And I even like the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman. Why people that have not been Man of Steel fans and have not been Batman v Superman fans, why do they want this Snyder Cut so badly? Why do they want to believe? But no, I think releasing an unfinished version of this movie would actually make people even more angry because they'd be like, why didn't you finish this? Because they don't understand how much things cost or how they're done.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second then. What about the notion of, because look, we look at Endgame, right? We watch Endgame. And when we're on Disney Plus, or before Disney Plus came out, when I'm on my Google Play watching my copy of it, and it gives me the options for look at special features, and it'll show me the deleted scenes. And those deleted scenes will often not have completed effects or completed audio or whatever. But I consider it a value add that I get to go in and watch those things. Mm-hmm. What about the idea of when HBO Max launches, and I know they've already said they have no plans to do this. I'm just saying, again, devil's advocate. What if they say, you know what? When we put up Justice League on HBO Max, listed amongst the special features will be hashtag Snyder Cut unfinished version.
Work in progress.
Work in progress. Because when we look at the special bonus materials on movies, I think we as an audience, we come into it with an expectation that we're going to see greens, because you're absolutely right about your observations. But I think when we watch special features, we understand we're going to see some wires. We understand there's going to be some audio missing. We understand there's going to be some green screen or not finished effects or a guy walking around in a gray suit with white ping pong balls all over him. I think we understand that. Do you think maybe there could be some benefit to HBO Max launching Justice League now playing HBO Max with a special feature attached to it? If you go into the special features, watch work in progress, hashtag Snyder Cut. Do you think that could maybe solve the problem of audiences going, why wasn't that there? And maybe, do you think that could add a little bit of a marketing boost for HBO Max to say, hey, you might all want to come up and sign up for HBO Max to check this out? I don't know. Do you see some advantage to that, or do you see that adding more problems?
Well, as a filmmaker, I would certainly stand down. Zack Snyder said he has a $200 and 14-minute cut of Justice League. Now, I know it's probably not nearly finished. I would certainly watch that, John. I'd be all over that. Would the actors be keen on that? Once you have a finished film like an Endgame, and it's done what it's done, you can do whatever you want. I mean, that whole scene on Vormir where Thanos attacks Hawkeye and Black Widow as they're trying to get the Soul Stone, that's incredible. That's almost a finished scene. And that's not even in the movie. But I think in the case of the Snyder Cut, what people really want, they'll watch a deleted scene here and there with green screen or unfinished effects. But when you start watching 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 20 minutes or half a movie that is unfinished, I don't think it's going to satisfy anybody. I don't think the actors would be pleased with that because it's really hard for people outside the motion picture industry. Hell, it's even hard for people inside the motion picture industry to watch something unfinished without bumping on it. And look, I would love to see it because I'd be like, wow, that could have been a really great movie. Why didn't they release that? But I think in the long run, I don't know if it would benefit the filmmakers, the actors, everybody that worked on the film, the studio, and the fans. I think the fans it would just piss them off more because then they'd be like, why don't you finish this? Finish this movie.
Yeah, we would go from hashtag release the Snyder Cut to hashtag finish the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, and there's just this fundamental lack of understanding, and I don't mean to insult anybody, but there is a filmmaking process that has been going on for 100 years that I don't think a lot of people really quite, as much as we know about movies, we only know about movies as much as we know when we watch. You can watch all the special features and read all the issues of Cinefex and whatever, an American cinematographer, and think you know. But unless you've actually sat in a screening room and watched various iterations of movies, you don't really know what watching an unfinished movie can be like.
All right, question here is, guys, is this. Do you think this information will put an end to, or at least get everybody on the same page as far as the discussion of what the Snyder Cut is and what it is not? Do you see some, like me, do you think maybe there could be some advantages to adding it as a bonus feature on Justice League on HBO Max? Do you agree with Rob that, listen, it just, people would not be able, you could say that theoretically, but it would just cause more problems? There's a lot of possibilities here. How do you guys see all this? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts, and let us all pray that we never have to talk about this stupid topic again. All right, let's now move on.